So are diplomatic tensions brewing between South Africa and Ukraine? In a tweet, Ukrainian Ambassador Liubov Abravitova is accusing South African government officials of not wanting to meet with her government rather, over the war in her home country. The International Relations Department has hit back, accusing the ambassador of failing to respond, in fact, to their attempts to facilitate a conversation between President Cyril Ramaphosa and his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky. But let's speak to the ambassador herself this morning. Liubov Abravitova joins us via our video link on the AM report. Ambassador, it's great to talk to you, especially in terms of getting clarity around the response from the Department of International Relations here in South Africa to that video that you posted on Twitter, saying that it was undiplomatic, according to the spokesperson for the department, and also accusing you, Ambassador, of, in fact, not responding to requests for meetings. Can you give us some clarity on how this has unfolded?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. First of all, let me maybe allow myself to correct you. I did not accuse South African government. I would rather say that I was insisting and opening the dialogue because the dialogue has been absent for a long time. That was the reason of my tweet came out. And I'm glad that the reaction that came through from the spokesperson of DIRCO came out immediately, and I think it's shown a lot of misunderstanding on the dialogue that we have today. Basically, I would not put myself maybe on the level of the spokesperson and starting to accuse someone. I don't think that from a diplomatical point of view and from the point of view me being an ambassador here and a lady ambassador here, it is appropriate to argue about the evident facts. We did request from the DIRCO officially through the notes particular meetings with particular ministers of different departments, and unfortunately we were not able to meet any of the minister or even deputy ministers since the beginning of open Russian invasion in Ukraine. And I believe that this tweet did bring the attention of both the department and presidency to the issue. And it is crucial, it is very important, because the position of any country, whether it's pro-Ukrainian or it's neutral, must keep open the doors for diplomacy and for the dialogue. I'm ambassador in South Africa. I respect South Africa, South Africans, South African government, and today in my work I have at least two major goals. First one is to achieve peace in my country, and second one is to continue to develop the bilateral relations between Ukraine and South Africa. That is why the dialogue is crucial, especially now, when Ukraine is facing the terrible, not only war, but already its consequences. And we've spoken with you a lot already about this.
I mean, no matter how analysts might see your tweet, Ambassador, the point is, as you say, that it has now opened up this dialogue with the government in South Africa, hasn't it? I mean, you met with Zane Dangor, the DG in the Department of International Relations, just yesterday. How did that meeting go?
Well, it was a very good meeting with Mr. Dangor, and I don't believe that it was the reaction on my tweet. Mr. Dangor is the new person in the cabinet, and I think it was very natural for the representative of DIRCO to meet with Ukrainian ambassador both to discuss the war situation, humanitarian situation, some issues of responsibility of those war crimes committed by Russia, about the diplomatic efforts that are undertaken globally and what can be done together with South Africa, then, of course, we are already starting to speak about the economic recovery in the future. So there is quite a list of important issues that are in the framework of the embassy and DIRCO. But, of course, this is not the requested meetings that I meant in my tweet. Though I really appreciate that this platform on that level was opened and I was invited. It was an initiative of South African side. We did agree that we will continue these meetings and these discussions. We also discussed the proposed call between the two presidents, which is being in preparation for a while, and the ambassador of South Africa in Ukraine is also working on this issue together with Ukrainian government representatives. So we will see in the nearest future the outcome of this.
I mean, that was actually my next question to you, Ambassador. The president here in South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, asked to speak to your president, Volodymyr Zelensky, as far back as the 17th of March. A lot has happened in the interim, including 2 UN votes, the latest South Africa deciding to abstain from that vote in the UN General Assembly. Does this now bring us closer to that phone call? And have those 2 UN votes meant that Volodymyr Zelensky has not been open to speaking to Cyril Ramaphosa on the phone, given South Africa's stance on the war in Ukraine?
Thank you for this question, and it is very important for me to give you some insight, because as soon as the war started, I mean the open invasion of Russia in Ukraine, I initiated both the telephone calls between I proposed to the DIRCO through our working contacts, the conversation between the ministries and between the presidents. The information of yours that official request came through on the 17th of March is absolutely correct. And yes, before 17th and already after 17th, in this interim, a lot of things happened, and not only the votes within the United Nations, but mainly what we have to focus now on is the unfolding of the situation in Ukraine itself. We've seen the humanitarian catastrophe, we've seen huge refugees flows, we've seen huge atrocities and war crimes that happened after we deliberated Kiev region. Maybe Crimea, you see, is something that is in my mind as well. So all these issues is something that my president is dealing directly, and not on his own, but with all government. But of course, it makes it's more difficult to organize a telephone calls, not only with South African president, but with many others who are willing to talk to my president. And the priorities dictating by those factors that I just mentioned, of course, are bringing us to those engagements on the higher political level that are leading to immediate and direct support and providing of assistance to Ukraine. So it's just a matter of time, and I would not see any political context in the delay of this telephone call.
So you're saying
not even the abstention in the UN resolution.
So you're saying it's not a deliberate avoidance by your president to speak to Cyril Ramaphosa?
Of course, no.
In the meantime, Zelensky is now asking to address the African Union as well. And one can only imagine that that's in response to the division on the African continent, insofar as those UN votes that you and I have been discussing as well.
Yes, yesterday, as you've seen, my president had the telephone call with the president of African Union, the president of Senegal, Macky Sall. And this is something that we are requesting. Obviously, in our situation, it is crucial to speak on the platforms of international organizations, especially that one that represents all the biggest continent in the world. So I don't see any problem with this. Do you see it?
Well, the question is, you know, what are we hoping to achieve, number one, by this address? And let's say these various engagements do lead to a phone call between Cyril Ramaphosa and Volodymyr Zelensky. What is the ultimate goal there, Ambassador? And how do you reckon it will influence the war in Ukraine?
Yeah, I understood your question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's speak about two separate calls. One call is between our presidents, and another one is the address of my president to the African Union. Mm-hmm. I believe that since the beginning of invasion, we've seen different divisions within Africa between different countries during expressing their position towards not only the aggression, violation of sovereignty and territorial integrity, but also towards human rights. It is happened historically that for each particular country of Africa, these principles are crucial for their own existence. That is why it is important for my president to speak to all the countries on this platform and maybe to elaborate on what are the consequences for the continent. I can presume that this is the main goal of this address, because I'm not the ambassador of Ukraine to the African Union, but being an Africanist, I would anticipate this. Meantime, the telephone call with the president of South Africa is important, taking into account that South Africa is the member of G20, the only member of G20 in sub-Saharan Africa, the close partner with whom we share, we still believe a lot of main principles. This is going to happen when we see the 30 years of diplomatic relations between Ukraine and South Africa, and very soon South Africa will be celebrating the next anniversary of Freedom Day. So I believe this call will be in time.
I think that's important clarity there. Thanks very much indeed for joining us this morning. Ukraine's ambassador to South Africa, Liubov Abravitova, speaking to us there on the latest in terms of not only what's unfolding in her country, but indeed important conversations that are ahead between not only South Africa, but possibly the African continent as well.